Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Wednesday, January 30th, 2019. This is the second of two videos on unofficial long trade ideas, just some stocks that I am going through some watch lists last night, some trades that stand out. Now, again, these are just potential trade ideas. They're unofficial, meaning, if any of these, if I continue to go like what I see on the charts, I'll take a look at various time frames. Some of these may make it on as official trades. As of now, they're unofficial, so I'll share some potential targets. And as I said in the previous video, if you're a member, just shoot me an email or come to contact in the trading room if you can do that. Private messaging, preferably in the trading room. That way others can see, and I'll be glad to post a chart with some levels targets if I didn't cover them in the video. Also, in that previous video, I already went over the disclaimer. A lot of these are low price stocks, i.e., aggressive stocks. Keep that in mind with your position size, and as always, pass if that a certain stock, low price stock, especially aggressive, does not mesh with your trading style or risk tolerance. All right, so starting out here, again, there were quite a few miners popped up on my radar last night as I went through the list. And what I'm doing here is these are, off the beaten path type miners. This one is symbol CGG.TO, meaning it trades on the Toronto Exchange, China Gold International Resource Corp. Low price, low volume, everything you want to see to check the box for an aggressive high risk trade, but with risk. Risk and reward go hand in hand. That's the one constant in investing is risk and reward go hand in hand. Any stock where you have a potential, like I can see in this one, about a 36% return, possibly easily this year if this one breaks out and the miners go, but that cuts both ways. And on this one, if we do, of course, your buy signal here would be a breakout above the downtrend line. And these are resistance levels that could act as potential targets there. So it would look something like this. Next one up would be FBIO. BIO. Fortress Biotech. A lot of biotechs also popping up on my list. These are, as I went over in the first video, biotechs by nature are aggressive trades because a lot of them, especially your smaller biotechs that don't have many drugs in the pipeline, if some of these companies, especially these low price stocks, everything is banking on the success of one drug in their pipeline, or maybe the bulk of their success. So it's make it or break it, and positive or negative clinical trials can send these stocks down to bankruptcyville, or shoot them up through the moon. This one, from a chart perspective, it's nice and clean. There's a downtrend line. Breakout 2 days ago, very impulsive. See the big green stick, high volume everyday sense. I don't know if you can make out my volume bars down here, 1, 2, 3. So it's just been moving up steadily on volume. It's hit now what was my first price target. Again, I found this one last night, and it's up another 10.5% today. These are some other potential targets. And longer term, let me just make this chart clear. I have a lot of lines. Many of these charts, I'll follow these stocks for years and have a lot of these trend lines from the past. So sometimes you'll see trend lines on here, and that's why I said if you're going to trade one of these, just drop me a line and I'll clean the chart up a little bit because some of the lines might not be valid at this point in time. But I do try to highlight the salient points here, and like I said, the most important thing here is this breakout recently. All right, so that's FBIO. Here's all potential targets. If this one gets some traction, could easily see 315. Don't underestimate how fast or large these small biotechs can rally, nor should you underestimate just how much they can fall if things go against them. Okay, let's move on a little faster here. We recently traded the home builders. And in the last video, I concluded with HOV. This is a home builder ETF. This is the leverage one. And a lot of you guys like to trade leverage ETFs out there. And this one, nail. What I do is I don't use the 3-time leverage for charting purposes. I'm showing you it here. It looks pretty clean, big, strong, divergent low, but you have the decay in some of these ETFs worse than others. So you want to look at XHB, the home builders ETF. Now it's going to be very similar in this case right now. And so let me turn that line on there. So basically, We had a divergent low. That's a sector I've been persistently bullish on since late December. We had the trade, we hit the first target. We used ITB, very similar ETF, and now we're up against a pretty significant resistance level. So my guess is this one will probably need to work off these overbought conditions, but we could be setting up a nice inverse head and shoulders pattern here. So this would be your left shoulder, and you can just do a quick Google search if you're not familiar with what an inverse head and shoulders. That would be, so you have a left shoulder here, a head right here, and then if we come back down, that would form a right shoulder, and this would be your neckline. So this would largely be contingent on me being wrong about where we're at in the business cycle, in the economy, and in the stock market, and that is something I'm very much open to. So if things perk up here, and the second quarter of this year, the first quarter and second quarter are going to be strong. Again, that scenario would entail pullback, and it's just one potential, scenario. We don't even have the beginnings of a left shoulder forming, but just one to keep your eye on. And again, this would entail, economy being strong into at least, throughout the first half of the year for this to play out, develop as such. And if so, you probably target all the way up here around 38 to 39 or so on the home builders. ITB, I didn't mean to cover it here, but again, this was our official trade. And as I showed you back then, when we went along, it was and still is a potential second target. Swing trading mode, you get in, get out. I took profits at T1, and rightfully so. That since then it's been a dead money trade. So that's there's a term that I made up. I make a lot of terms up in trading. I call it velocity, and I wrote about it somewhere on the site. And that basically says, if you can get in, get out, get a quick 10%, whatever it is, and stand aside from all this noise, redeploy that cash elsewhere. If you're doing that, let's say you get 10% a month on just one trade, annualized out, I mean, not even compounding, that's 120% a year. So that's the part of swing trading, is try to sidestep the dead money periods or the pullbacks and get in on these, these type moves these quick trends, and then redeploy that capital elsewhere. Whereas a longer term trader, and I know all of you are not active traders, you don't have the time or the inclination to actively trade like this. So if you look at bigger picture, this is where I think this one could be headed. It just may take a little more time to consolidate here. Maybe we get that right shoulder pullback like I just showed you on XHB. All right, so that's just one to keep an eye on. And again, we'll monitor the economy and the market and see how things develop going forward to see whether we should be long or short these guys soon. All right, next up would be FSM. Fortuna Silver Mines, just a nice looking chart here. Breakout, there's your downtrend line breakout. First, pullback rally, and it's moving up. We need to take out that previous high. It just looks good longer term. I don't have a lot of lines marked on the chart. Let me give you one at least if you are trading these. I definitely would target this $4 level. You can see a lot of reactions right here. I would be surprised if the stock didn't at least pause or consolidate if and when it gets there. And being that it's, this chart looks constructive. We recently PPO crossed over into bullish territory above that zero line. It's come back tested it from below. It also often acts as support, and it's curling back up. This is a great trend indicator. It tells you here, bearish trend, be short or get out of the stock if you're long. Here, this trend was up. Here, the trend was up. And there's some whipsaw signals, but for the most part, as I always say, you don't use these trend indicators or just about any trend indicator during periods of sideways trading. They're just going to whip you to hell, up and back, up and back, up and back. So you need to recognize a trend. And so when you get these powerful trends like this, there was a clear bearish sell signal on it, and then you have now a trend change right here. So this signals higher probability, in my opinion, than these back here, because we have some clear trends in the stock recently. BTI, since I found it last night, I had a break point here at 33.41. It broke out today. However, it's run into the 50. We got to watch that, only because the 50 has acted as support and resistance. I'm referring to the 50-day exponential moving average. Back here was support. Once support, once broken, boom, comes resistance. That set off a downtrend. Kicked back, again, resistance, failed at the 50. Here, failed at the 50, finally took the 50 out and had a little, few weeks where it rallied and acted as support, but boom, lost it again. So right now, boom, failure again at the 50. and so we're at the 50 now. Now, support resistance is meant to be broken, just like records are meant to be broken. Doesn't mean we'll break it this time, just means you have to watch out. You want to put that 50 in the rearview mirror, and that will help. And then you'll have two breakouts. You'll have the breakout above price resistance and the breakout above the 50. A little bit of resistance just overhead here after these reaction highs. Other than that, if it can put this level in the rearview mirror, about 33.50 or 60 or so, this is what I call a thin zone right here, all the way up here to the top of that gap and that reaction high. And that's about, I'll tell you where it's at right now exactly. Let's put a line there. Let's turn the levels on. And that's about 41.67 or so. And that, like I said, it's a thin zone. Not a lot of trades took place above this line here. Let me give you that line too. And so that could take us all the way up there. And this one does pay, no, I thought it paid a dividend tobacco stock, but it doesn't. Okay, next one up, MUX, another miner. McEwen Mining, and then a nice little divergent low right here. And again, this one's beat down. A lot of the miners have already taken off. So if these guys, some of these are beat down bottoming plays that may want to play a game of catch up. It's low price, but it's not a penny stock, at least not yet. Again, I'll have to give you targets, but let me just show you where I'm looking. This chart's busy. I didn't have time to clean this one up. Right here, that is a top of a what appears to be here. There was a whole basing pattern right here for a while. We fell below that pattern, so we need to get, let me just tell you this now. This one needs to pop back above 190 and get clearly back into this range here. If it can get back into the bottom of the range, it'll probably move back up to the top, and that's a pretty wide swing there. If it gets all the way up to the top, that's about a 28% gain. And then longer term, if it breaks out, then it's longer term bullish, and you could tuck this one away and hold on to it as a long-term trend trade. It's MUX. Next one, HL, also miner. This is Hecla Mining, gold stock, divergent low. You have this downtrend line here. We recently broke out and came in and back tested. We overshot a little bit on the back test. That's fine because we fell right down to support here, about 230. You can see all the support here. And we moved back up now. So a potential bottoming play. I'd have to refine these targets and these levels on this chart. But let's just say right now, the two levels I'd focus on over the next few months or so would be these two. That's 310 and call it 345 or so. All right, next up, CANN. Another one that broke out since I found it last night. Up 10% today. Had this downtrend line. Found these late, guys. Sorry, I would have got this video out, but it was past midnight by the time in fact, that's the only thing. I just couldn't go anymore. Or I would have kept working on the watch list for other ideas. But there it is. It broke out today. Sector's getting a little frothy. You'll have to look at MJ, but I just want to share this for you for those of you that like to trade the cannabis stocks. Certainly a breakout and on pretty good volume too. And next up would be ALO. Alio Gold, told you I had a lot of little obscure gold stocks. These are typically not in GDX. You're not going to find them in GDX. Higher risk, but higher return potential. And looking at this, downtrend line was broken right here. Strong divergences, big move up. Now this one needs to take out the previous reaction high. Let me move this line down here and give you another level. It also needs to come back above that 84-cent level. And it's bullish if a stock trades under $1, but then can recover that level, that's bullish. If they trade under there too long, they face delisting. So watch this one to get back above that 108 level. It'll put it back above, of course, the $1 share price, get it out of penny stockville. Doesn't mean it's completely out of the woods, but it could probably run all the way up here to 132 and possibly beyond. High risk, I can't emphasize that enough. So make sure you don't go crazy with your position size if you take it. What's going on here? Let's see ahead. Oh, SILJ. Oh, junior miners, silver juniors. All right, so this is the junior silver miners ETF. That means your smaller companies, you're not your big miners. And I should have had this one marked up. I thought I did. No, maybe not. So not crazy about. I can't really find a solid fit on the downtrend line. So let's not even try to force that. Let's look at just A little work to be done. Let me move off this one right now. Again, I think the miners might have to take a little breather here soon because gold just hit resistance. So I'm going to move off SILJ for now. SOHU. That's Sohu.com. This one was probably covered in the recent, did a couple videos on the internet content and information stocks. Breakout right here, the falling wedge, positive divergence, everything you like to see. Strong rally. Remember, nothing goes up forever. Corrections are normal and healthy if the charts are constructive. You get too extended, too overbought, then you have stocks crash, come down real hard. So it was about a 48% run off the lows, came back in, put in a higher low, which is also bullish. So far you have the early makings of a potential uptrend. An uptrend is simply defined as a stock making a series of higher lows and higher highs. And so if this one can go and take out that previous high, looks good all the way up here to either of these two targets and possibly beyond. We'll see. It's going to take a pretty strong, I think a pretty strong market in 2019 to do that. So I'm a little skeptical, but my job, remember, is to share the best looking trade setups regardless of my market bias or positioning. That's what I do. So you're long, a lot of times somebody is long or bearish or bullish on something that I take on the other side, and great. And that's what the trading room is all about, sharing opinions. So I'll share these trade ideas, and then you decide which ones mesh with your outlook on the market and, of course, your trading style. YZCAY, Yangzhou Coal Mining Company. So for those of you that want to start nibbling on China or some Chinese stocks, thin, you can tell by these funky looking candles. That just means very thin volume. Of course, if it's, I believe it's a Chinese stock, and so therefore they're trading, their markets are open when we're closed, and you're going to always have these gaps and these funky looking candles. But it has a decent downtrend line. It was worth mentioning. I'm not crazy about the trade idea, but again, I think it was worth passing along. It stood out to me as a potential, especially if the Chinese stocks start to rally. I'll have to work on targets for you. So let me just move on that one for now to EMH.V. Again, V is the Canadian Venture Exchange, Emerald Health. I believe you can find U.S. shares on this one as well. Not crazy about it here. It was nice here with this divergent low, and it's moving higher, and it'll probably continue higher until at least this trend line. But yeah, that's what I want to show. You have price resistance here, a pretty solid level around 405, and a downtrend line coming in. So to buy it on a pullback would be ideal. If it gives you one, it may not. The trend has been up lately in the cannabis stocks, and I believe this is cannabis stock. And a little pullback there. If you get it to 270, these are just levels if you want to trade around. Maybe you're already long this one, but I would think of reaction at 405 and then a pullback, maybe even a short trade if it gets there. That's EMH.V. Next up, AGI. Alamos Gold, you had another gold stock, $4 stock, relatively cheap. Just recently broke out. Not really doing much today. It's back testing, so this breakout could fail, could get going. Again, I gave you my thoughts on gold. Maybe hold off, get a little pullback here, and then recycle back into some of these miners. This is resistance. That's why it stopped. See all these reactions right here? Boom, broke out of the trend line, but hit resistance right overhead. Needs to take out 445 or so and that 200-day. And if so, the next target, and it's a high probability target, I think this stock will see this sometime this year, the 495 level. And then if it takes that out, that's also a very solid target resistance level, about 594 or so. So a lot of upside potential. I just can't tell you, I can't say with any convictions that I would buy it right here. And, we'll just keep an eye on it. And again, drop me a line in the trading room if you're following it, and maybe we'll get an objective entry on it soon. AKRX. Acorn. I believe I mentioned this in the trading room recently, or somebody else did, or I found this was on my watch list. But there it is, big, strong, divergent low, $4 stock. Has some, let me move that line right here. That's about where the resistance line should be, about 422. If it can pop that, there's certainly some upside. I have lines from years ago. Let me pull some down. There's a target there about 625 and then a massive gap. So just again, one to keep on your radar. Speculative, somewhat aggressive, but a massive gap to be backfilled. Gaps are, once entered, they're often filled. So keep an eye on that one. And you could certainly target the bottom of the gap as a price target, but you need to take out 422, and then it's pretty thin. I don't see a lot of resistance up until about 625. So a lot of upside potential on that one if it can get going. AKRX is the symbol. Next one up, LAC. Looks like I have an asterisk by this. I like it. Yep. Lithium. In the first video, I showed one or two lithium stocks. Here's another one, LAC. It's a $3 stock. Here's your downtrend line. Looks like a nice bullish longer term. You need to see some work here. Most importantly, we need to take out that downtrend line right there. But let me put a line. Let me drag this line right here. There's price resistance right here at 350, 351. That's what it needs to pop, as well as that downtrend line. They'll probably come in together. So here's one more of a trade setup than an actionable trade right now. If it can work its way up here, ideally give another consolidation, then boom, pop above the downtrend line in 351. I think any or all of these targets are possible. And of course, you want to keep an eye on the sector. Birds of a feather flock together. So you want to see the majority of lithium stocks doing well. I actually have a watch list. I need to pull that up, and I'll go through all the individual lithium stocks that I have. In fact, let me make sure I've added this one to my watch list. I'll do that right now. Let's see, copy to watch list, lithium stocks, boom, there it is. All right, it may already be in there, but I want to make sure. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. LEN, Lennar, another home builder. Again, as you know, we were bullish along those recently, and they've done pretty well. Question is, do they have more to go? This was a heck of a bottoming play here. Strong bullish divergence. Came in, hit resistance here, and obviously the chart looks similar to that the trade ITB that we had on the home builders, but it took out that level and it's trading above it. This was a resistance here. And if the builders can get some traction and the market gets some traction, I think this one's headed up here at about 49.5 or so. Very, very well defined. That was key support and broke, and would be a natural target for the ending point, at least for this rally here. EXP, building materials, Eagle Materials, they're in the building materials sector. Nice little downtrend line, a little breakout back test, everything you like to see, and moving up so far. Took out the 50-day targets I'd have to give you. Yeah, I'd have to work on this one. Might have to throw some Fibonacci's on here as well, identify targets, but just a nice looking constructive chart. And again, some of these, have more well-defined entries. This one obviously would have been nice back here if I would have seen that at the time, but I figured I'd mention it. OSTK, overstock.com. This one has been, actually, that line needs to go there. It's been diverging, big divergence building over time. This is a messy looking chart. Let's just clean it up here a little bit, show you a board without so many lines. No, I don't have it. Okay, we'll just have to look at that. So basically what I'm seeing here is this downtrend line. We had a breakout, very impulsive recently, ran up to here. There's resistance. Let me move that up now, the recent high, so about 1980 or so. If it pops above there, it gets pretty thin. I have a gazillion lines on here. Again, I'll clean this chart up if I put this on as an official trade, but this would be what I think would be the next stop, next target, about 24.76, and possibly up here at about 28, maybe up to about that $30 range in time. Again, it's a nice looking chart, potential bottoming play there on OSTK. MHLD had a question mark by it, which means I'm not crazy about it. Oh yeah, it's heading down to getting close to that $1 level. It's a reinsurance company. I imagine, I don't know whether it was the fires in California or some of the storms or something else recently. Some of these reinsurance companies got clocked. They just weren't expecting to pay out as much as they have on a lot of these natural disaster claims in recent years. And so this one could be headed to bankruptcyville. But if it can hold up here, there's a potential downtrend line to watch. There's a little bit steeper downtrend line. Just again, speculative play. Even if you get it in a short squeeze, short covering rally, it can pop all the way back up here at about 170, no problem. That would be about, I don't know, 50% plus return. Let's not spend too much time on it. I just wanted to show you the chart. MPVD. That is Mountain Province Diamonds. It's all over the place here with all different types of stocks, but I like that. Get some diversity. And again, these are the stocks. The market can do what it wants. These will dance to their own drum beat here. Now it's flirting with that $1 level as well. It's a thinly traded stock. There's a potential downtrend line to watch. I'm not crazy about it, and probably draw even a better downtrend line on a 60-minute chart right here. Get in those recent lows. Targets, not even, I can't really see. I can tell you if this one can pop above this wedge, I think it would shoot up here at about 186. That would be a target on that one, and then probably get out. At most 229, that would be a longer term swing target. And finally, SB, and a question mark by this one again means this type of action with the market being strong lately and this one falling off a cliff now down to about $1.50. Here's another one that could be headed to the bankruptcy courts, but there's potential divergence. Only potential, meaning the indicators and the price is still headed straight down. The indicators are pointed down, so they could continue down and take that out. So there's a big difference in my book between potential divergence, which this is, and confirmed divergence, which means confirmed if you get the PPO to turn up here and effectively put in a higher low. So we'll wrap it up here. Again, a lot of speculative trades. Some were, higher priced and more stable. I had even covered a couple ETFs in here, but for now, these are some of the ones that stood out when I went over the charts last night, and I'll continue to do so. And I'll try to keep these videos going, these unofficial trade ideas, in addition to I'm really hoping to increase the official trade ideas. I just don't like where we're at in the market right now in a lot of stocks. I want to see some clean, objective entries, and I'm trying to get away. I'm trying to find some stocks that don't have a very high correlation with the broad market, and maybe find some of those for official trade ideas as well. We'll wrap it up here. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Hope you enjoyed it.